Now,
at this age, at 5.5 weeks, what if we really calmed her and got her into a deep sleep? How many hours could she go?
in general, breastfed babies will sleep for 2-hour stretches, 1.5 to 2.5 hours between feedings. But once in the day, she'll have a 4-hour stretch. That's what I would hope for. So
they say that at some point they begin to progress beyond that, the need to be at that point. So
yes.
You're saying fight that for a little bit of time and just actually maintain during this rougher period.
Right. Consider the first 3 months that she's still a fetus. And so wrapping is for the first 3 months. But for some babies, wrapping is wonderful for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 months for sleeping. But certainly the first 3 months is the most important time for a baby.
Important time.
Important because it helps her feel back at home. And it helps to trigger the calming reflex.
When she wakes up in the middle of the night, sometimes I can just give her the pacifier and she'll fall back to sleep. Do you have to feed them in the middle of the night, or?
It's fine to skip a meal. And you're going to know what's right or wrong according to how your baby responds. And so if you give her the pacifier and she goes back to sleep and she's calm and happy for 2 more hours, she wasn't really that hungry. If she's really hungry, she's not going to take the pacifier.
That's right, she'll cry. Yeah.
She'll cry, and then you'll know, well, I can't get out of the feeding this time. I've got to do it. One of the wonderful things about the 5S's is that you'll see when she's swaddled, right away you'll get an extra hour's sleep between each feeding, because it will just help her stay into a deeper level of calmness.
My question is there too much movement that you can give a newborn so that it's dangerous? Is there a point where it becomes dangerous to the brain?
There's something called shaken baby syndrome, where the head is shaken so violently that the brains are shaking inside, and it can be damaging to a baby's brain. They also call that whiplash syndrome because the head is swinging back and forth vigorously. This movement that we're talking about here is really not shaking, it's jiggling. And it's exactly the motion that a baby had inside the uterus. You could do this all day long and it wouldn't hurt your baby. In fact, just the opposite. It makes him feel very comfortable and relaxed like he's back home.
Now his nervous system, if it's too immature, the whole overstimulation thing again, is that bad for them then? The fact that, for example, I had my whole family here when he was first born, the first 2 weeks. And some people tell me that that's the reason, is that his nervous system went out of whack because there was too many people and too much going on.
All of you, as you know your babies, learn what is calming for them and what's upsetting for them. Some babies get upset if there's too much commotion around them. Other babies do fine with that. So when you notice what it is that upsets Luke, then you avoid that. And if he's upset by crowds, then you're best to steer clear of the crowds.
With doing all this, I mean, is there a chance or a problem with maybe doing it too much and her becoming reliant on it or spoiling the baby? Or should we be concerned about every time she cries, we're running over and picking her up and it's going to continue forever, basically? I mean, when will it end?
It's a common concern that parents have. A lot of books warn parents not to accidentally spoil their child. And there's no question you can spoil an older child. We've all seen spoiled 1-year-olds. But for the first 3 months of life, your baby is really still a fetus. And you cannot spoil a fetus. In fact, from her perspective, you've taken away a lot. You used to hold her 24 hours a day. You used to rock her 24 hours a day. You used to keep her cuddled up 24 hours a day. So now, if you hold her or keep her in the swing for 12 hours a day, you may think it's a lot. But from her perspective, it's really a gigantic cutback from what she used to have. This is just for the first 3 months of life or so. After 3 months, she'll have ways of dealing with the world where she won't need all of this help. She'll be smiling, she'll be cooing, she'll be lifting up her head. She'll have ways of dealing with the energy of being stimulated in the world without having to cry.
How I know all these techniques work now. Now, will I be spoiling him if I keep doing this, and how do I actually get him to soothe himself if I'm the one soothing him all the time?
You know, it's a good question because it's something that concerns a lot of parents. What I want you to remember is that when he was in the uterus, he was getting constantly jiggled. He constantly had that soothing white noise and was constantly cozy and cuddled. And once he's born, immediately you've removed 50% of the cuddling and the carrying that you do with him. For the first 3 months of life, he'll really benefit from lots of holding and lots of rocking and lots of white noise. And then after 3 months, he'll be ready. Automatically, he'll be ready for you to do that less and less. I've never had a problem weaning a baby off of the wrapping and off of the noise and the movement once they're ready after 3 months.
What kind of food can actually influence him? Because I've basically cut out everything from my diet, and I've tried to add anything on, and I have a bad night, which could just be that it's his turn to have a bad night, but I mean, does food really affect them that much? Can it, if they're really sensitive?
Well, first I would ask you, if you can calm him down by going for a walk or turning on the hair dryer, do you think that that's pain that he's having?
You know what, there are times that I don't know if I've done it in the right intensity or not, or if I'm just completely that exhausted that it just doesn't work anymore, but there are times at night when it's more like a screech, rather than just this fussiness.
Right. And so by that sound of the cry, it sounds more like pain to your ears.
Right. I mean, it's just a different type of cry than just a fussy, ongoing kind of a cry. It's almost like he's smiling one moment, and the next moment his lips are curled, and it's a shriek.
Can I take a minute?
Of course.
Don't jump to the conclusion that he's in bad pain, because the cry is the sound of that pain. It may be just that he's at the end of his road, and that he got himself upset. And calming him down may still be as easy as doing fluorescence.
One of the questions you asked about what causes gas also could be the diet.
It's true.
Mother's diet.
It's true. There are some babies who get fussy because of something in a mother's diet, but that's the smallest number of babies. That's maybe 10% of the very fussy babies. So that's a very uncommon cause of fussiness in babies.
With us, with the gas situation with her, no matter if we had done all of those things, they would have calmed her, but as soon as I'd put her down, she would be up again because I hadn't gotten rid of the problem.
Yes.
So
Well, but it's interesting because the word colic comes from the word colon, meaning intestine, because everyone thinks that's intestinal pain. And certainly babies need to burp. But that is not the cause of the fussing most of the time. In fact, studies have been done that where x-rays were done on babies before crying and after crying. And what was discovered is that they had more gas in their tummies after they've been crying and then they settled down than they had when the crying started.
what about when she pushes her legs right out, really stiff, and she braces her whole body? Isn't that her trying to tell us that she's got gas and she doesn't know what to do with it, and her body is stressed?
Don't get me wrong, of course she'll have gas. And she'll try to strain to have a bowel movement. And sometimes when a baby eats, when the stomach fills, it sends a message to the intestines. New milk is coming, time to get rid of the poop, make room for the new milk. And so what happens, the intestines start to squeeze, and they often have a poop when they're eating. And some babies feel that squeezing as an uncomfortable feeling. Mm-hmm. So sometimes they do struggle a little bit, and you can see that in her face. But that will not make her cry for minutes or an hour. That's a very short period of time.
What then is the concept of colic, as far as I've been told over and over and over with Luke, well, he has colic, there's nothing you can do. I mean, obviously there are things I can do, and when I've had 9 hours of straight crying, I have been able to calm him down in between several times. So what makes some babies more sensitive to being that way than others is my question.
There are primarily 3 things that contribute to that concept of colic. One thing is immaturity of the nervous system. Some babies have a nervous system that's a little bit more immature, and they have more difficulty settling themselves down. The second is temperament. Some babies are more passionate or more sensitive. And usually they have parents who are passionate and sensitive. And so they have an especially hard time settling themselves in those first few months because they take everything so intensely. And then the third thing is some babies do get a little gas, or they do have a funny feeling in their tummies that they have to have a bowel movement. And that just upsets them. And then once they get upset, it's like a ball rolling downhill. They can't stop themselves. It's not that the pain was so bad to begin with, but that started a whole process in motion that it's bigger than the baby's ability to turn it off. And that's where you'll help with the 5 S's. There's no question that babies can get overstimulated. Some babies are especially sensitive to that. Other babies, when brought to a very chaotic, noisy place, go to sleep. And so you have to get to know your child. Your child may love chaotic places, or your child may get overstimulated by them. But what is not commonly understood is a much bigger problem than overstimulation. What? You say, tell me the answer. A much bigger problem than overstimulation is understimulation. Suddenly, they don't have the rhythmic sounds and motion of the uterus. They're lying in a still bassinet. And that is very tough on babies.
I have to pull over literally wherever I am. I don't care, even if it's on the freeway sometimes. It happened once. Get her out of her seat and just hold her and rock her. But why do they need that? Do they need the attention, or?
What happens with babies, since their brains are immature, but their intensity is not immature. They're born with all the intensity of an adult, but without the maturity of an adult. And so once a baby gets upset, sometimes they have a hard time settling themselves down. So you stop the car and say, okay, let me take over now. And so you put her on your lap and you pat her, you rock her, you do the 5 S's to get her to settle down. Because once she is so upset, she can't help herself at that point. Even when a baby is asleep, they're still conscious to the world around them. Even when your baby was asleep inside of you, she was still aware of all those sensations. So it really shouldn't be any surprise that while she's sleeping at night, she's still aware of the world around her. And the soothing wrapping and the soothing hypnotic sounds can be a help to extend the period of her calm sleep.
At what point can they start to actually soothe themselves and wean off of these, the motion and the noise and such? Did you say like about 3 months, or does it just vary with each baby?
It varies. It varies, Nina. Some babies can soothe themselves right from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. And you'll talk to other mothers and they go, I don't know, my baby never cries. So some babies have that ability. Other babies take till they're 2 or 3 months old, or even 4 or 5 months old, before they can start calming themselves down well.
Would it be wise to take her out and swaddle her and then put her in the car seat?
It's really best for her not to be swallowed in the car seat. But what you can do is you can make a tape recording of your hairdryer. And put that into your cassette recorder in the car, if you have one of those, and play that loud on the way over, because that will also help to settle Sydney down. the sleep-in can be extended by wrapping and using white noise at night.
And you just leave white noise going like so.
Absolutely.
Because I have one of these things that imitate the heartbeat and imitate certain sounds, but the heartbeat's the only one that is actually from the uterus. The other ones are like the sound of the sea.
The heartbeat doesn't work as well as a hissing white noise.
Right.
So you really want something that's a continual
Right.
kind of a sound. And like I said, you can even tune a radio into a static station between stations and use that. But it has to be fairly loud. It's not quiet.
You haven't mentioned music. Everybody's pushing music in the nurseries. Yes or no?
I don't find that music is very helpful. White noise is helpful. Basically, the concept is to imitate the uterus. And the more you can imitate that, the more you're able to trigger this calming reflex.
I have a question. How old does the baby have to be to get in the swing? Because I feel like everyone keeps saying that Dash is too young to be in the swing.
I started when babies are 2 weeks old.
Okay.
But you have to recline the swing all the way back because he's not really able to sit up very well yet. So you want to recline it back so that he's kind of lying down.
How long would you go at any one time in the swing?
She could go hours in the swing. If she's happy, she could go hours in the swing. And of course, she'll start to cry eventually because she'll get hungry. The swing and the noise will not make her forget to eat.
Right.
But it will help her to stay comfortable for that extra half an hour until she's really hungry. If she's not wrapped, if she doesn't have the noise, she may be hungry in an hour and a half. And if she's wrapped and she has the noise and she's in the swing, that may go to 2 hours. And then she'll have a bigger meal. And in fact, she'll learn to eat larger meals and be able to go longer periods between the feedings that way as well.
The side holding, now would that work if you just lay the baby after it's swaddled on the side on a flat surface, or do you have to hold it up?
No. You don't have to be holding your baby when she's on her side. So you can put her down in a bed like that. But it's recommended that babies sleep on their backs. If you're going to put your baby on the side, you should be there close by watching her. You want to make sure she doesn't accidentally roll onto her stomach.
And I transfer her to him, maybe perhaps because of a different smell. She seems to wake up and is a little bit more alert rather than in a more of a hypnotized state. Do you think the smell plays a factor, the scent?
What's so interesting is that Anissa can tell the difference. Even though she's asleep, she can tell the difference.
Yeah,
from going from one person to another. And she's asleep, but she's still aware of what's around her. So if she wakes up a little bit when you guys switch off, that's okay. Then yes, your husband will just start doing the 5 S's, do a little bit more jiggling or a little bit more shushing. Remember, the process is like dancing with your baby. So if she starts getting a little bit more awake, then you pick up the pace a little bit. And then as she falls back into sleep,
we can slow it down.
Exactly
Okay.
right. Yeah.
I've been giving her Milacon drops kind of prophylactically, just wondering if that was what it was, if it was gas. I've been giving them to her in the afternoon, starting in the afternoon, like around the 3 o'clock feeding right after. Should I not be doing that?
Studies have shown that there's no difference between giving a baby Milacon drops and giving them water.
Okay.
That there's no additional benefit.
Oh.
So ultimately what that tells me is that babies aren't crying because of gas or because of burping. Of course you want to burp her well,
Right.
so she doesn't burp and vomit. But it's not gas that's causing the problem.
Okay. And there a chance of her ever getting too hot? Let's say, it's warm out, she's, wearing pajamas, I swaddle her. Can she get too hot?
Sure, she can get too hot.
Okay.
And that's a good question. Feel her ears.
Oh.
Feel the tip of her nose. If her ears are cool, then she's not too hot. Okay. If her ears are really red, and feel her neck, if it's getting a little sweaty, then she's overheated.
Okay.
So you need to swaddle her in a light blanket, or you need to swaddle her without a shirt on underneath, maybe just in a diaper if it's a really warm day.
Okay.
But there are many countries around the world where babies are swaddled and they're not overheated because they're not dressed underneath.
Okay. So then when she's going down for a nap, let's say she's not fussy, but she's going to be taking a nap, does it make sense to go ahead and swaddle her?
I would swaddle her whenever you want to settle her down.
Okay.
If she's fussy or if you want her to sleep.
Okay.
You may notice that you have to unswaddle her sometimes to wake her up to feed her.
Right.
So say she's gone 3 hours without eating and you want to get the feedings in so that she gets enough nourishment during the day so she can sleep better at night. Then you would unwrap her, cool her down a little bit, and do the feeding.
What about, you're talking about the noises also that, the noises in the womb. What about the bears that simulate the noise? Have you had any experience with those?
Yes. Any type of white noise is a help. The bears that simulate the noise, you can tape record your vacuum cleaner, you can buy a white noise machine. Any of those things will be a help, as long as it's loud enough. And then as she calms down, you can turn it down to a quieter intensity. There are some babies who sleep well with the white noise. They sleep so well with the white noise that parents continue it for many months.
No, I've just heard that it's better to use the pacifier than her fingers because you can take the pacifier away eventually, whereas if she sucks her finger, you have a little problem.
Well, the truth is that she can't really suck her fingers right now anyway, so it's not an option. But after 3 or 4 months, when she does have better coordination of her hands, she will be able to suck her fingers, and then it is better for her to do that than sucking on a pacifier, because she'll be, when she loses the pacifier, she'll call for you for help, whereas if she can suck on her fingers, she'll always have them available to her. These things will calm her momentarily, but if she's really, really hungry, or if she were really in pain, God forbid, something like that, this wouldn't keep her calm.
Right.
So she just wanted to let us know there for a second, okay, but don't forget, I still need to eat.
Right, so it won't mask anything serious.
No, not at all.
Regarding using the white noise and the swing, would you wait until she is upset and having problems settling down, or would you just preempt it and go into a sort of a pattern once or twice a day of using some of like the swing and things like that?
The beauty of these techniques is that you can use them in any way you'd like. You can wait for her to get fussy and use them then. You can do it automatically in the late afternoon when you need time to get prepared for dinner, and you can also use it, say you want to go out and leave her with your mother, and you want to make it the smoothest as possible for your mom. So you'll automatically use it, so you avoid any chance that she's going to have a meltdown while you're away.
Yes, my question is, she will be extremely fussy and will do something that seems to calm her down. And she'll be happy, calm, maybe 3 minutes, and we're still doing it, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it's just this horrible scream again, like she's in pain. So I'm wondering why does she do that? If she's calm for 3 minutes and seems to be soothed, and we're still doing what we're doing, why does she all of a sudden start again? And could that be that it is gas and her stomach's starting to bother her?
Well, 2 things. One is babies do get gas pains, or they get intestinal sensations that are uncomfortable. You know, when you nurse her, she oftentimes has a bowel movement then or shortly thereafter. When the stomach fills with milk, the intestines start to move to push out the poop and make room for the new milk that she's just eaten. So at different times during the day, her intestines suddenly start to constrict, and for some babies, that's an uncomfortable experience, and she might suddenly cry out. An interesting thing, though, when studies have looked at babies who cry intensely, the sound of the cry is a cry of pain. And yet, so often, simple maneuvers like this calm them down. So you know it can't be pain. If she's screaming and then you pick her up and you bounce her vigorously and she calms down, you know it couldn't really be serious pain for it to pass that quickly.
Right.
So while, yes, there are uncomfortable sensations, or she suddenly startles herself, when you can settle her down quickly, that's reassurance for you that it's not anything that's serious.
Okay.